Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about completing the square. Basically, what's going to happen is we're going to take something that's in standard form and write it in vertex form. And I'm not going to lie, this is probably one of the most complicated things that we'll learn all year. But I have some tips and tricks to make it a little bit easier. So first, what do I mean by square? Let's go back to the beginning of the year when we had to work with polynomials. Anything squared is multiplying it by itself. So x minus 6 squared would be the same as x minus 6 times x minus 6. All right, well, if we actually multiply that out, we can use our box method. Going back a little bit here, guys. So I'm going to do a 2 by 2 box because I'm multiplying a binomial times a binomial. X minus 6 times x minus 6. And this is good review, too, for the end of the year. All right. Now, inside the boxes, we'll multiply, just like in the Punnett squares that you work with in science to figure out chromosomes. So x times x would give us x squared. X times negative 6, negative 6x. X times negative 6 again, negative 6x. Negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. And when we write that, put it into standard form. So we start with the x squared. Negative 6x and negative 6x is negative 12x, and then plus 36. And you may notice that that is an awful lot like, that is standard form, right? This is your A. B is negative 12. And C is 36. So if this were, a quadratic equation, that would be your y-intercept. It would open up. All right. Well, we're going to take it from this form right here, and we're going to work backwards to complete the square. So a quick way to do that, and again, it's going to seem very complicated at first, just bear with me. If you take your trinomial, x squared minus 12x plus 36. What I need you to notice, if you take your b, if you take this negative 12 and divide it by 2, you get negative 6. All right. Now, if I group it in here with this other x and square it, what do you know? Negative 6 squared is positive 36. Okay, so basically what you're doing to go from here to here is you take the middle term, cut it in half, and then you're going to put it in parentheses with just one of the x's. You're kind of pulling that other x out and then squaring it. X squared is x squared. Negative 6 squared is positive 36. And negative 6 and negative 6 together add up to negative 12. So keep that in mind as we move through. Again, I know this is confusing, but I've got some tricks to help you along as well. All right, so here's our quadratic equation. It says, what's the vertex? Well, it's graphed, so we'll just look right here. It's the point 2, negative 5. Okay? Now, if I wanted to write it in vertex form, it's going to look like this. Remember, this goes with your x in parentheses. Just change the sign, x minus 2 squared, and then the minus 5 goes on the outside. All right, that's actually going to be our shortcut to get from here to here. So you could take the equation, figure out what the vertex is, either from the graph or from the table, and then write it in your equation. Just remember to change the x's sign and keep the y. Now, if you want to complete the square, these don't look anything alike. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut that in half. So let's kind of back up. Let me show you what this looks like. So if I take that x squared minus 4x minus 1 up here. All right. What you're going to do, and we're going to practice with this for a couple days, so if you don't get it right away, it's okay. All right, so we're going to group those together. I'm going to cut this in half. Okay, so I'm going to kind of drop down a step. I'm going to skip a step. So right here, I'm going to have x minus 2 squared, which you may notice is exactly what we have right here, x minus 2 squared. All right, now, if we really did have that, I'm going to just copy this x squared minus 4x down. I'm going to leave a space and then put the minus 1 outside. What would negative 2 squared be? 2 times 2 is 4. So this should be a plus 4 if it really was completing the square. Well, you can't just randomly put a plus 4 into the equation. So to balance it, we're going to put a minus 4 out here. And what you might notice when you combine those, you get negative 5, which is what you had up here. That's completing the square in a nutshell. You might be going, yeah, I have no idea what you just said. This is ridiculous. But we're going to practice with it. And if you do get stuck, keep in mind, you can find the vertex and then write it that way. All right, and work backwards. So this is just saying you cut b in half and square it. That's where this half of negative 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is always positive, positive 4. And then you add it here and subtract it here. All right, so let's give these a try. Actually, I'm going to pause the video here just so you can kind of take a breath and get yourself together, and then we'll continue. All right.